because I'm very detail oriented. My clients since back in 2003, they knew. They used to say, "Oh," because I did the work myself.
Miss Salerno told us that you
Yeah,
were doing her.
Salerno.
Welcome to Opportunity Knocks. I'm your host, Todd Patton, and today I'm so fortunate to have Tiago de Almeida. How'd I do?
Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what? All the Brazilian clients that we're getting, which I love, I'm starting to pick up a little bit here.
Right.
So slowly but surely.
Yeah.
But first of all, Pacific Marble Restoration. I'm excited to hear about this, how you got started. Your success stories that I've heard about before I even met you. I've heard these case studies and testimonials from people that are vendors in one home. And then to have our event yesterday and to have somebody in the audience raise their hand and said, I have, and they said Tiago, by the way.
Yeah.
I have Tiago. I have your phone number still saved from 20 years ago.
Tiago, I used to have marble and you cleaned it in Coral Gables.
I did.
Yes.
Really? Salerno?
Salerno.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
from 2010 to 2020 we lived in Coral Gables.
Right.
That's a testament. So first off, welcome aboard. I'm so glad to have you on One Home as we build this amazing new business, and having you as a staple of that, which exemplifies what we're doing, which is finding great people running really good companies, and that's what you got. But tell me your background. How'd you get started?
So how I got started, my background, I'm Brazilian, and I used to come here on vacation back and forth. And I said, one day I want to live here. And my dream was to play soccer. Always wanted to play soccer.
Did you play competitively?
I did. I actually played in Germany. I played in Brazil.
Oh, you played
Almost
semi-pro?
Semi-pro.
Wow.
Yes.
When you say another country you played at, that's impressive.
Yeah, so I went to Germany for 2 years, But before that, I came here and I worked at a part-time job, just doing like polishing. My cousin got me involved with this company, so I went ahead and did some work for them. And, I said, there's a great opportunity in this land here, but I wanted to chase the soccer route.
Because you only have a little window for that. And you're what, 24, 23 at the time, probably?
No, actually, younger.
Oh,
younger,
wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's too old.
I was like 20 or 21. Yes. So
that's cool. What an experience that is, traveling around. So you took off.
Yeah, it was very nice. I took off, but, it didn't work out. It's a tough, not industry, but it's a tough, very few guys who make it, but I learned a lot that,
You wouldn't do it over. If you did it over again, you would do the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah,
it was very, very,
cool.
very nice for my upbringing, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so you found yourself after was Germany you were playing at?
Germany, yes.
And then you came back to the States?
I came back here. I came back to finish my college degree because I had started, and I didn't know my eligibility in college had started. I had no clue. So I started college here.
You could have played soccer
for college. Yeah, I had.
Did you?
Yeah, I did not, because when I came back, I didn't know. My clock was already running, and when I got back here, my eligibility was pretty much gone. So I said, I'm just gonna, start working with what I learned back, a few years before, and then I went back to polishing. That's how I got started.
And then at that time, did you start a business? Because you're so young still. You're probably 23, 24 years old. Did you work for a company?
I worked for a company in the beginning,
Couple years.
Get
your experience, learn it.
Learned, and it was a great company. Unfortunately, I just didn't have, growth.
Yeah.
So, I started my own, and that was back in 2003.
Jeez.
So it's been 22 years. Yeah.
22 years ago.
Yeah.
And you started it, and how's that journey been? I mean, obviously a lot of ups and downs. You've seen the 2007, 2008 crisis, and you were in it then, right?
Yes. So one thing interesting about marble is it didn't really affect us in 2000, the crisis of 2008. Yeah, I was very impressed. Maybe 1 week was a little slow, but, we got the clientele. But I always thought this way, and I'm still thinking that way. If you do quality work and if you push hard and keep your standards and all that, I don't know, somehow it just bounces back,
right.
And that's what I learned. And even COVID as well, hit it, and I was, I've been through something very similar to it. Of course, COVID was more healthy
for you.
Healthy issues for the whole world versus the real estate crisis back in 2008. Similar concept.
Yeah.
So I was like already kind of ready to go through it.
There's a quote that I love. It's adversity doesn't doesn't build. Some people say, "Oh, it'll build my character if I go through this adversity." It doesn't build it; it reveals it, and I love that because it's like, we all get knocked down. Anybody that says they don't, they're just not. And whether that's personal life, business, there's always setbacks, there's always challenges, there's always things that everybody's facing, and how you react to that. I think that I have a feeling that your soccer experience of going through that adversity helped in business, right?
It did.
That's cool.
Because endurance and how to stay focused and always keep pushing, but there's certain times in your life you got to make a decision where you're going to go, and that's the route I took. Yeah.
What advice would you give a young entrepreneur starting out, any industry? It's just a business that they're starting, somebody that is it, if there's one thing that you could say, focus on this. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I loved, that I learned during this podcast, was from Michael Udine, who is the mayor of Broward County. And he said, I asked him the same question. He said, preparation. And he goes, and I thought about it. He goes, when you're prepared and you come into something, it just, and I've been really just, I learn all the time. I'm like a sponge, but just, even though obviously, you got to be prepared. You got to, you learn that at a young age, but really for business. So I'd love to hear what your,
I like that quote that he said, because a lot of people just, they don't value, they think, oh, it's just a small little details. You shouldn't worry about it, or figure out and all that. Yes, I agree with that. Sometimes you gotta have an opportunity. You just gotta go and take it. Mm-hmm. But if you're prepared, if you have everything, all your ducks in a row, most likely you're gonna succeed. So that's a very good approach of the mayor that he told you. But another thing that I believe a lot is persistence, because you never know when you're gonna hit the avenue that you need to go to make your business grow.
That's awesome. Yeah. Great advice. And for me, in mine, part of why I started this podcast series, because before I started One Home as a business, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was like kind of up in the air of like, what's the next business? And I'm confident that I know I'll succeed with. So I just didn't know what it was. Was I going to buy a pest control company? Was I going to be a painter? Yes. I didn't know. And as I went through that, I said, let me bring in successful people. I'll call this podcast Opportunity Knocks, and I'll just learn how they got, because you learn from something from everybody, and hearing stories and hearing these things like that, it's helped me. So I believe it's putting yourself in position always, whether that's networking, whether that's friendships, relationships that you have, and you just always put yourself in a position to succeed, because those who sit and that's why I think COVID hurt a lot of people in some ways, because they got comfortable and they got complacent.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree. We have a little similar story. You sold the business. I sold the business in 2024 too. I went to retail back in 2017. Mm-hmm. I wanted to experience the retail side of it. And yes, we sold a tile store. We used to sell porcelain and tile flooring. In 2024, it was a great experience to build equity and see how you can.
Did you buy the building, or did you?
No, I started from scratch. I was getting from wholesalers. I was not importing the products. That was one of the things that that I had. I didn't have a lot of margin on it. But even with that, with all the difficulties, we had like 2 or 3 wholesalers that would provide us with that material, and that's what we did. So we had a showroom right on Federal Highway.
Oh wow!
Prime location.
Jeez, on Federal?
On Federal Highway, yes.
Wow!
Right on by Spanish River. And,
that's where Vi is, isn't it?
Yeah, she's there.
Near that area.
I think she's a little north. She told me the address. It's a little north. Yes. So
that has to be nice not having that. That's a big thing.
Yeah, it was. So it was.
It's a totally different model. Retail.
Totally different model, but I wanted to experience, and I think it was nice and helped me a lot how to build equity. Now I know exactly what I need to do to build even my Pacific Marble business now, to enhance, to be able to, in the future, if that comes along, you have equity. It's a great way of an investment as well.
Excellent. Great advice. And what about staff? Because that was the challenge I saw when I was looking at buying the home service business, and I started looking at them. A lot of people I talked to, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of the companies and friends that ran businesses, they said it's really tough just finding people that want to work. Like, it's hard getting staff. And you agree with it, but how do you keep your team, and how do you keep them motivated? Is there anything that, and again, I know you're in that community of very loyal, that Brazilian market, you have a good network that you've built, but sometimes I'm sure you have to go outside of that, and how do you recruit?
We recruit we use Indeed. We use some of the platforms of employment. However, we do a lot of word of mouth, asking people around. But we always look for somebody that fits our culture, because I'm very detail oriented. My clients, since back in 2003, they used to say, "Oh," because I did the work myself, and
Miss Salerno told us that you were
yeah,
doing
Miss
her.
Salerno, yeah, she's great. Yeah, we've I've known her for over 15 years, I would say. But there was a realtor. She used to say, he used to come to my house with a little toothbrush and clean all the grout lines, right? Just to give an idea how detailed we were. And one thing that I learned, and I mentioned yesterday as well, about the yacht service, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot of yacht service on marble, and there's no rooms for error. There's no room. You have to have small equipment. The protection has to be pristine, and we are very big on that. A lot of competitors, they don't value the protection of the home, but we going in homes that you range homes from hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, and we protect the same way, and that's a key thing for us. Protection, make sure the detail is going to be done properly, and I'm big on that.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's one thing we look for employees when they come, to see if they have that detail. Of course, not everybody's going to have it. We do the training to make sure they get to the positions that we want and the characteristics that we're looking for. And they have to be willing to work. To me, that's a must. Because if they're not willing to work and be part of a team, no matter what, he can be as talented as he can be or she can be, they're just not going to be a good team player.
If you're not hiring like at a specific time, like I'm specifically looking for this role, are you still recruiting? Do you still have Indeed go? Like you always?
I'm always looking.
I'm
always looking, because you have to be prepared. And if I have a talent that I can bring into the team, it fits all and I feel like this, once that you bring people, it makes your whole team work harder to get more work. I have an operation manager that it's helping me tremendously now, and we're trying to grow the business even more.
Great. So,
and I throw at him, look, we're going to get more people, and you're going to have to find more jobs, and we just got to keep going and keep going. That's how I see it.
That's awesome. And the, you mentioned the word culture. So how do you define that? I know you talked about being prepared, like you said, your preparation's good and persistence, but talk a little bit about how do you get culture? Do you do events? I mean, do you do like family, like holiday parties? Like when you say the word culture, what do you mean by that?
When I say culture, it's the culture that was implemented by me in the beginning, and that we grew along with the people that start coming into the company that become key players. I have a worker that works for me for over 17 years.
Wow.
Yes, and we always try to keep them motivated. Create bonus structures. That's big. Bonus. You got to share the pie, right? So you have to be able to get them motivated that way as well. So that's
awesome.
So that culture is established with other people that come in and help us as well. But I would say my culture of my company now is very detail oriented. Customers, you're gonna do everything possible to please them. I know we're not perfect. You said that yesterday. Todd, we're not perfect. Mistakes are gonna happen, but we have to be ready to fix and have a response for them. That's how I see it. So that's the main culture of our company.
Awesome.
Detail oriented,
transparency,
and always doing the best we can for the clients.
Fantastic. Like I said, I'm really excited to work with you and we can learn from each other and help each other grow. And that's the culture we're trying to build at One Home, is that community, of, in this case, it's going to be 30 companies, vendors, because of Broward's, I can't go outside of Broward. It's just too much. I don't have the bandwidth. But I'd always love to hear advice and recommendations, especially somebody who's done successful in business. And I think we could always learn. So one of the things I want to learn about is some of the projects you've done, because you talked about a few of them, and we had somebody in the audience the other day at the Lunch and Learn who said, yeah, Miss Salerno said, 15 years ago, I still have your number on my phone. And I'm going to play that video again, by the way, during this podcast.
That's the biggest testimony.
It's the best.
For it. I was ready to leave the stage.
I know. I was like, it's a mic drop. Drop the mic. That was awesome. And the way she spoke of it and just like it was awesome. And by the way, her husband is Pat Salerno, which is Pat Salerno Drive. That's a cool.
Amazing. Yeah, I remember the first time he told me the story. I was all proud, that we are able to, to help them,
and she's in Coral Gables.
Yeah,
so she was at the time. Now she's in Four Seasons. But tell us any stories or any projects that you've done that you remember and say, you know what, this is a cool one.
So there's a cool project, and I was pretty much starting. We're like maybe 3 or 4 years after the company. So 2003, probably was 2007, 2008. Actually, it was 2008, I believe. 5 years after, and it was right after I had stepped down from the field, and I was selling, and I was working more, growing the
more
business,
outside,
outside.
Yeah.
So I got a call of this builder, he's a Brazilian guy, and said, "Look, we're building for this big American company, one of the biggest top builders in the country, right? And we have like about 90 units in the building in Fort Lauderdale for you to tackle." And I'm like, "Well, how am I going to do this?" 90 apartments, right? And they would range from 600 square feet to 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, right on by Broward, by downtown area.
Don't tell me there's a timeline on this.
And there a timeline. I think it was a month to get everything done.
No.
Yeah, it was like a month. And
how many staff do you have? Just so I have an idea.
At that time, we had, I think I had 3 guys, I believe, or 4 guys.
You can't do
But I said, but I can't turn this down. This is going to change my business. I got to figure out. And it was a very tough floor to do it. 2 companies already had tried to go and do samples. And they're always, of course, they're looking for price. But I sold them quality and best product. It was a limestone product, which is, limestone is very soft, Todd. It's like a sponge. Anything that drops, it stains. So I said, look, you got to spend and put a good sealer here. So I went ahead, did a sample, and they approved the sample, right? Then I sent the price. Anyways, they wanted me to do better and all this, but we got the project. And I said, 90 units. And how am I going to do this now? And I said, I hired a couple other guys, and I had a couple key players that said, I'm going to have them teach this other guys how to do it. And we just jumped on it. And we thought we were going to start and finish one, but all of a sudden, in the second unit, we were discussing there. One of my guys said, like, why don't we do this? So I said, that's a great idea. So what we did is we came in, we protect the whole unit. One guy just come and protect. 2 guys come right behind, do the grinding and the sealing and the polishing and all that. And a third person would come just to do the final details, because even though it's at 90 units, most of business, and I'm still like that, and I think we get a lot of value from GCs and designers. I still want to put my detail there. I want to still put my quality there. It's not because it's a lot, I'm just going to go fly. Sure. And it could have passed, believe me, it could. And my guys know, now it kind of reminds me of my culture. Yeah. They know it's not to please just the homeowner. It's to please us as a company, as a whole, and not please.
That's good.
Yeah, it's not to please Tiago either. I tell them it's to have pride what you do. And I had this one guy come at the end, Todd, just doing all the details, because you're gonna literally see our guys on their knees,
which most companies would never do that.
Never do.
They have their guy doing it, installing, and they're done. It's out.
Yeah. So with that setup, we were able to just we're doing 3 to 5 units a day.
Now, did you come up with that after the first day? So in other words,
second day, I think. Second day. But see, it was one of my key workers said, Tiago, I think we can do this. And I said, okay, so let me call them and see if they give them because the first day we're taking all the tools back. And I asked for a storage room. I didn't even think about that. And then I said, let me get a storage room. So we left all the tools there. Because remember, Todd, we still had to do other jobs.
Because that's your business doesn't stop.
Yeah, because if you stop for a big project.
So what did you end up having staff-wise on that? 8 people, 9 people?
No, actually 6 guys.
6 guys.
It was
did 90 units in a couple months.
Yeah, it's we are doing 6 units, 5 to 6 units a day, right? So if you look, if you're doing 6 at you're not gonna get 30 days, but we're working from Monday to Saturday. Right. So the number kind of matched right there, So
and you delivered it on time with your stamp of approval.
Yeah, and we still have customers there from that time that we maintain their floors.
That's got to be great going to a unit like Miss Salerno. We use her, bring her up again, but when you hear that, that's got to make you feel proud as an entrepreneur that you made that impact on somebody. Not only that, but when you see a floor and somebody's like, Wait, I did that.
Yeah.
I did that 12 years ago. You know, that's
it is. It is, and it needs maintenance. You know.
So speaking of maintenance, and that's what I want to talk about now, and I want to finish on this because a community like Parkland Golf, where I live, you know, this is a 20-year-old, I think, community, maybe more. I think 2004, 2005 is when they started building them. Those houses, some of them got remodeled and did stuff, but a lot of them have the original, including me.
Yes.
So talk about the polishing work that you do now. Like when you come into a house like that, how do you know if you look? I know you have the eye because you told me Parkland Golf, like Todd.
Yeah.
You guys got to get something done, whether it's me or somebody else. You got to get it done.
Right.
So how do you know? I mean, obviously you've seen so many, but for the average homeowner, when would they know to say, let's have you guys come out and take a look at this? And then do you charge for like coming out to give a quote, or how does it?
So it's a free estimate.
Okay.
We have a sales team, you know, they'll call into the office, we'll set up a visit, and we try to get to the clients 1 to 2 days we are at their house, you know, to be quick, because you got to get that moment that they call. You don't want to take too long. Mm-hmm. Go show up and do an estimate, free estimate. We do a couple samples sometimes if it depends. Oh, wow. You know, do a little sample of a grout cleaning or grout staining.
Just to show them what it is now.
Yeah. We have a whole iPad with all the photos. We got the folders. You know, we're very structured when it comes to that.
Awesome. That's a great story, by the way, you just told. That's awesome. I have, in our community, Parkland Golf and Country Club, you know, have you ever done inside like lobby areas like that? And if so, where at? Any names that people would know, like types of hotels?
Yes. We are based in Boca Raton. We are preferred vendor for the Boca Resort. Now it's called the Boca Raton. So we do work for them for the past 4 years.
Awesome. And that's the lobby area you did?
We clean all the lobbies. We did bungalows. We did the beach club, a bunch of different areas, the spa, you name it. We're working there this week as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're always there. Aragon Building, Meridian, Boca Inlet. We do a lot of lobbies, common areas lobbies for buildings.
Last question, maintenance. It sounds to me like you go there regularly. Is that so? How often does somebody maintain their floors? Is that a once every 3 years, once every 2 years?
I have a rule of thumb, like 2 to 3 years, Todd.
Okay. But
what we offer is a free visit every year to come and inspect the floors, because there is one misconception. A lot of people think they don't need maintenance. They'll let the floor get dirty or let them like 3 years. But it gets cheaper if you do, more economic if you do it more regularly. Let's say every year, but you don't need to do the whole place. You just do the traffic areas. So we have a system to notify the clients, and of course we get a better price as well. And we have a program that we can come to the home 3 times a year. It varies. Yeah. So
and do touch-ups when you're there?
Do touch-ups and all that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, if they paid yearly, we can do that. And it's basically what we do for the commercial buildings. Yeah. So we have contracts with this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
wow.
That's how we do it. Yeah.
That's not transactional then. That's like relationship where you're saying, hey, we're going to be coming, making sure if you're working with us, you're always going to have a clean.
Yeah. And that's how you value business too. Let's say, like we talked earlier, right? If you want to build equity for your business, having those contracts.
That's right.
The more you have, the more is
more value.
Equity, more value.
Isn't it unbelievable how that's? Yeah. It's funny with one home. It's a little different. I'm learning a lot with the app, but a lot of it is the download. How many people are using it? Right. And that's why I told you my focus now that we have a core group, we're still a few short. I want to get to 30, but now that we have that core group, I'm done focusing on vendors. Right. My whole thing is how do I get the homeowners to where they're going to benefit from this, use this, and then go from 1,000, which I think we'll get quick. We have about 250 right now signed up, that pre-registered.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then go to 1,000 and then go to 10,000 and then go to, because there's so much business around. And when I have good companies out, I want to get the word out and say, hey, let's help grow these businesses, Right. So you're one of those great companies. And I'm going to say it, Tiago. You're never going to hear me say Tiago again.
I say it Tiago because it's easier for people to pronounce, but it's Tiago. Yeah, that's how you say it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having you on, and really, like I said, looking forward to working with you.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Pleasure.
All right. Thank you.